Welcome to the Backfield Buzz podcast, a part of the Hive Podcast Network. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster, as usual, giving you all things NFL. Fellas, the final division preview. If you want to check out every other division, it's up on the channel. Today we are doing AFC West. Spoiler alert, not a good division if you haven't figured it out. So our last one, I think, was our longest, fellas, where we went like an hour 30 or
Yeah,
something.
it was a
Well,
longer one.
Yeah,
let's try to keep this sub hour, eh?
Yeah.
yeah.
Frosty, how you doing?
I'm living. Found out I have a
High
bunch of
bar.
yeah, that's really all we're going for at this point. I'm breathing and I'm walking. That's what we're going for.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Glover, how you doing? So you got a haircut?
Yeah, I got a fresh cut, ready to go. First episode with a new cut. But we're not really saving the best for last here, kind of probably saving the worst for last. And let's just do it. I'm not gonna say
Although
I'm not looking forward to this
I don't know
division.
about worst. They have the last two Super Bowl winners in their division. Sure, it's the same
It's the
team,
same
but
team. It's just this division is just the Chiefs. But yeah, this will be interesting.
All right. Well, as we normally do, we start with the worst placing team from last year. So that would be the Los Angeles Chargers. Interesting team here because obviously a lot of turnover changes from front office side of things to the on-field side of things. Glover, let's go to you first. And I mean, I think we could have a little Justin Herbert conversation to kick us off here. We've been playing a little quarterback game as we over these last couple of episodes. What are your feelings on Justin Herbert? Just to start, and what do you expect from him in this upcoming season?
I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert. I'm still on the Herbert hype train. I still think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's so just hindered by lack of weapons. And I think the big thing for him, he's also had some injury concerns and he's been having some trouble staying on the field recently. And you look at this offense, and for Herbert, he's had weapons with guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but really, he's had them for half the season, maybe. Those two are always injured. So the weapons got a downgrade this year for sure. No doubt his receivers are significantly worse. However, they'll be reliable. He'll have the same four receivers game in, game out, being able to build that repertoire and not bouncing between the fourth stringer and the third stringer, just popping up to the number one spot. I think that might help him if he can stay healthy, being able to build a repertoire with Quentin Johnston, with Lad McConkey, with Josh Palmer, and develop those receivers under him. So I hope that will help him. But yeah, if he can stay on the field, I think he will carry this Chargers team to mediocrity, I'll say.
I will say I don't I don't know if it's a good thing that he's gonna have continuation with this receiver room.
Yeah.
I I don't know if you guys have seen the clips out of the Chargers camp. It looks like Quentin Johnston cannot catch a ball unless he's staring at Justin Herbert. That
Yeah.
looks like the only way that he can catch. He can't make an over-the-shoulder catch. He can't make a sideline catch. It's unbelievable. At one point, this guy was the number one receiver in last year's class. Like I don't know what happened to him. I going back to Justin Herbert though quickly. I'm not as on the Justin Herbert train as you are. I think
I know this. This is why I see. This is I know these things. This is why I brought it up because we've had these conversations off air about the Herbert converse, like, and because you think Dak's, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have Dak above him.
I have Dak above him. I think Herbert's probably the seventh best quarterback in the league. Not like I don't think that's a diss on Herbert, but a lot of people have him in the top five conversation. I don't think you certainly can't put him above any of Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. Those are the top three, period. You cannot put him anywhere close to them. To me, I still I can't justify putting him near Joe Burrow yet
Yeah.
because he hasn't proven anything. I get Joe Burrow is hurt. He's never on the field. Justin Herbert also missed 4 games last year, though. He played 17 in both years prior. But injuries tend to stack up, especially on this Chargers team, as we've seen in the last few years. And then I have Dak and CJ Stroud above him. I think Dak and CJ Stroud are pretty interchangeable for the 5-6. I think they're both a bit of a step above Justin Herbert, though.
So we're not really as far off. I have Herbert at 6, with him being pretty interchangeable with Stroud. I have probably Dak at 7. but
Okay.
Herbert's my six. Like I can't put him above. Like you mentioned, you can't put him in the top three. Joe Burrow's one, so he's gonna be four. And then I think I'd go Stroud Herbert right now.
I
Yeah,
think,
it's not like a crazy argument. Like I don't
yeah,
think you could argue any lower than seven, any higher than five, really. Like
Yeah.
I think you're just kind of he's in that realm. I mean, he's gonna have a very like this team has completely changed directions. They have flipped it. They got way younger. I mean, I like Lad McConkey. Um, Everything out of camp is that he's been great for them, and he all the clips I've seen, he's looked really good. Canadian Josh Palmer is somebody that I'll always root for. We'll see what DJ Chark can do. Quentin Johnston. I think I don't know if it was like a clickbaity headline title, but Johnson was the receiver four. I believe he's been the receiver four.
He's
Not
listed. Yeah.
necessarily in all the starting groups. So uh we'll see what happens with that. Brendan Rice maybe deserves a shout out. I don't know. Glover, we'll go to you for the running backs real quick because I guess it's just the Ravens running back room now. The J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. I mean, can these guys do you expect these guys to provide much for the Chargers team?
I do, but I've always been higher on J.K. Dobbins. I love his game so much, and I really think if he can stay on the field this year, he has potential to be an 1,000 yard rusher. Like he is such a dynamic, talented back. He just can't stay healthy for the life of him. I really am rooting for him. I really do hope he has a good year this year. And I think he can. And it's more than just the running backs. This Chargers team is just the Ravens. Like they hired their new GM was the Ravens director of scouting. They got Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Hayden Hurst is a former Raven. Bradley Bozeman, former Raven. Their new offensive coordinator is Greg Roman, former Ravens OC. They have so many Baltimore guys on this team, and Jim Harbaugh is the brother of John Harbaugh.
I was just
Like
gonna say.
the worst Harbaugh, but he's the brother of John. Like this team is full of Ravens, but I do like this back between Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins has the injury concern, so you can't trust him to fully carry a backfield, and Gus Edwards is more of a 1B, but he's a great power back, you know? You need a yard, he will get you your yard. He was so good at the goal line. He's really good in the short yardage situation. And if he gets open space, he's got sneaky speed and he's really powerful, a really powerful runner. So if he gets going in open space, really hard to take down. And Dobbins is he's really shifty, great speed if he recovers well. And I'm really hoping he can have a healthy year because it's a really good 1A, 1B system they can have.
I do agree. I have been higher on J.K. Dobbins than a lot of people. I do think he can be a 1,000 yard rusher if he's healthy, even in a backfield where Gus Edwards is going to take a decent chunk of carries away from him. I still think J.K. Dobbins can get 1,000 yards. And I feel like we need to talk about Joe Alt. He looks unbelievable so
The
far.
offensive line in general. Like these guys are
Yeah,
gonna be running by. I love this offensive line
it
actually.
what Justin Herbert lost in weapons, he's now gained in protection. Like their offensive line is, I would say, pretty solidly above average now, at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would put it, yeah, I would put it as one of the top units in the NFL. I don't know if that's crazy. I think Joe Alt immediately. I mean, this is just where my Joe Alt love comes in. I loved him pre-draft process, after the draft. I mean, Rashawn Slater on the other side's a stud. Trey Pipkins has always been a solid guard. I'm not in love with Zion Johnson, but if he takes a step, then that's really solid. And then Bozeman is just more of an average guy, but that's a solid unit. They got some depth there as well a little bit. So I love the unit.
I do like the unit. I want to see him in action before I consider them one of the top in the league. But I think Alton and Slater has potential to be one of the best tackle duos in the NFL, without a doubt. Zion Johnson, I think, yeah, he's young. He can take a step. Sallier, he's been solid for this team, and with all the injuries they've had on the O line, he's been able to step up in all kinds of different roles. Again, Bozeman's pretty average, as you mentioned. It is a solid unit. It's young, and this should help the run game improve. This should help Herbert stay on the field more. It should help all layers of their offense be productive if this O line has been good, because it's been pretty terrible the last few years, and done a good job of overhauling it this offseason.
And hey, we haven't talked about somebody on this offense. I don't know if you guys saw the report today. Derwin James going to be getting some reps on offense. That is
Hard
something
moving?
apparently Harbaugh stated that there were some packages for Derwin James on offense. I don't know what that looks like,
Yeah.
but let's talk about this defense and maybe where he naturally plays at safety. The defense to me leaves some to be desired. Um, we all know about Joey Bosa. We all know about Derwin James, as I mentioned. What else do you guys like about the defense, and what do you not like about the defense?
Boy, this like I think if I go through, there's four guys on this defense who are amazing, really good. Everyone else, barely a starter. Like Joy Bosa's great. He's been injury prone though. I really think that letting his contract off the books would have been a good decision this offseason, but I think they couldn't come to the agreement on the restructuring and all that sort of all the money side of things. But I think it was a contract that would have been nice to get off the books because he has been injury prone. Khalil Mack was amazing last year. Derwin James is a stud, still one of the best safeties in the NFL. And I'm a big fan of Asante Samuel Jr. But beyond that, oh, it is bad. Like this is just there's no depth at corner. The linebackers are questionable. The interior D line is awful. It's just not good.
It, it's it's been a consistently disappointing defense over the past few years, and it's consistently gotten worse year after year after year to now to the point where there's guys that should not, to me, should not be starting
Yeah.
on this defense right now. Like there's there's not very many things to like. I don't think there's a lot of holes. I think their secondary can be pretty good with Asante Samuel and Derwin James, but it's going to take some guys are going to have to take steps because two guys in your secondary is not enough to shut down a passing game, and I don't trust their linebackers in coverage really at all. So this defense to me it needs a lot of work right now.
Yeah, Khalil Mack, I believe he had more sacks last season than Joey Bosa has played games over the last 2 years. Mack had 17, Bosa has played 14 over the last 2 years. And you cannot expect Khalil Mack to do that again. That's a career high in
No.
sacks for him.
He's
He's 33 now. You can't expect him to do that again. And yeah, that's it's unfortunate because it's where this team seemingly is going to be let down at that in the receiver core. We'll get to the standings predictions in a little bit, but I think we're all pretty in agreement here that uh, there's a lot to be left desired. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on?
actually I did want to mention I found another former Raven on this team. Their fullback Ben Mason. He was a former Raven too. He's a Raven draft
Did you
pick.
mention Tony Jefferson?
Tony, right? He came out of retirement to join the Chargers. I'm telling you, this team is the Los Angeles Ravens, but they don't have any of our good players. It's crazy how many Ravens are on this roster. But yeah, this team, it's tough. It's just a tough team.
All right. Let's go to the Denver Broncos, I believe. Yep, the Denver Broncos. So, uh, interesting. Another team that's interesting that I feel like we've talked a little bit about them off air, and maybe we're a bit different on where we think they'll finish in the standings. I think Glover, you're like just completely out on the Broncos. But I want to start at the quarterback. Their unofficial depth chart came out for the preseason week one. And at the quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, QB1, Zach Wilson, QB2, and Bo Nix, QB3. Frosty, what do you make of that?
I think it's the wrong decision, but I think it's the wrong decision because I would be starting Zach Wilson. I I to me, I don't know what you're losing by starting Zach Wilson over Jared Stidham. Realistically, you're not. Jared Stidham is not getting any better. It's Jared Stidham. Zach Wilson is at least still young enough. He's never really had a fair shot. This would Cortland Sutton probably immediately. Does this make it the best receiving room that he's ever had? Like,
Oh, well, no, he had Garrett
like,
Wilson. He had Garrett Wilson.
yeah, he did. Man, but he never had a two like Josh Reynolds. I I like Tim Patrick, especially as a red zone threat. Adam Trotman's a good tight end. Greg Dulcich is really good as a tight end. Like this really isn't that bad of a team, but one of their quarterbacks has to step up and learn to play competent football. That's basically it.
Well, so I guess I just saw the report you were talking about there, Wiles, but I was looking through some other stuff. I had seen some good things about Bo Nix. Like I'm wondering if that preseason depth chart is just for that game and it's not their actual depth chart. I've heard bad things about Zach Wilson. I've heard that he has not been practicing with the first team at all. He just hasn't been good at all. But I've heard that people have been impressed with Bo Nix. That those are the reports coming out that he's been pretty solid. I think Bo Nix will start week one. I mean, I don't know if it's the right choice, but like this team, you're not getting much out of any of these quarterbacks. And Sean Payton was over the moon on the Bo Nix pick when he made it at the draft. He came out of that press conference and was like, "We just drafted Patrick Mahomes. This guy reminds me of Drew Brees." Like, I don't know what he was watching, but he's high on Bo Nix, so I expect him to start. But yeah, this
We'll
none of them
see.
are going to be any better than what Russell Wilson was last year because I don't trust Zach Wilson. I think he's just I wasn't a fan coming into the draft. He was a one-trick pony with a really cool arm. Jared Stidham, he's just a backup, and Bo Nix is a old rookie who was a reach by a pretty long shot, in my opinion. So
He's only a year younger than Zach Wilson. This is Zach Wilson's
that's
fourth
actually
year in the
crazy.
NFL. He's
That is
one
pretty
year younger
crazy.
than him.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, it's. I think this is. I don't think the position is solid. I don't think Jarrett Stidham's locked in as the week one starter. It's just, I think these things are usually somewhat of a good representation of where things stand right now. Like, I scanned the Houston Texans one for my own personal reasons, and it is pretty indicative of the reports out of camp and what is to be expected as their unofficial depth chart. But we'll see as things progress. But as of right now, Jarrett Stidham is pegged as QB1 in Denver. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know where you're getting this receiver core, Frosty. I am completely out on it. Like Cortland Sutton's he's not a receiver one. He's a
No.
No,
solid guy. Like are you guys in the
I like
camp like
Josh
he's a
Reynolds.
receiver two in a championship team? Like is Cortland
Eh,
Sutton a receiver
Yeah,
two in a champ? Like I'm
yeah,
not even
yeah.
there with him almost.
He,
I like Josh Reynolds though. I like Tim Patrick. I think their tight ends are good.
It's
I
not
don't,
awful. It's just I'm not there with it
Well,
like to be anything special.
yeah, like
Uh
I don't, I don't think it's gonna make one of their quarterbacks good by any means, but I think the receiving room is better than the quarterback room.
yeah, but the quarterback room sucks.
Yeah,
Like
it
it's arguably the
does.
worst in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think with you, you're looking at a rookie, which is hard to rank among quarterbacks who have played, a guy who was an epic disaster in New York and a guy who's never started for a good team ever. So yeah, it sucks. But this receiver room is not good. Like I like Sutton. I think he might lean more as a three for me on a championship team. Like he could be a two, but I've never like I still haven't seen him take that step to be a great receiver in an offense. I like Marvin Mims, but I don't. We'll see this year with more opportunity if he's more of just a return specialist. And I did like the Troy Franklin pick in the third round. I think it was a really good value pick. I thought he was a second round, late first kind of guy. I really like that pick, and I think he could be a real stud on this offense. Tim Patrick, he's solid, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He keeps tearing his ACL, his Achilles. Like he can't stay on the field. He's had, I think, two season-ending injuries in back-to-back years. Cortland Sutton hasn't been healthy much himself. I do like Josh Reynolds, but I think he's more of a three. Like I'm not exactly in on this receiver room. I like Greg Dulcich as a tight end. Adam Troutman's okay. Like it's just meh, and it's not going to elevate the quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks aren't going to elevate them.
just to touch on a couple other things on this offense. I don't mind their tackles. I like Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey as a duo. I don't like the interior, to be frank. So we'll see how that holds up. And then we'll see what we get from Javonte Williams. Stayed healthy last year, which was always a good sign after I believe he tore his Achilles in
ACL,
2 years, or
I
was it
think it's
ACL?
ACL.
Okay. It was a major knee injury, but he wasn't like fantastic, but I've heard good things about Jaleel McLaughlin as well. So they got some IGP runners there who can soak up some as well. So overall, I think regardless of how you feel the receiver core, a bit of a lackluster offense just in general. Um
yeah.
over to the defense where I mean do you guys have any like crazy thoughts on it? I mean, other than like I don't want to spend too much time on PS2. I mean, we all know
He's amazing.
uh that he is I wouldn't quite say he's the best corner in the league. I think a lot of people would. Uh Regardless, he's going to take away half the field. I love Alex Singleton as a middle linebacker. Uh I think he just tackles everybody, and he's been a standout on that Denver defense. For the last couple of years, ever since he came over from Philadelphia. Any other major thoughts on this defense? Because it seems like there's a lot of room for young guys and players to, take a spot.
This defense is very, very similar to the Chargers. Like they've got maybe four names. Like I like Zach Allen off the edge. That's solid. Nick Bonito was actually really good last year as a rookie, so that's a solid piece off the two pieces there. John Franklin Myers is solid in the interior, and then you mentioned Singleton. I think he's a good middle linebacker. And there's Pat Surtain, who is, in my opinion, no doubt the best corner in the league. I think he's a stud and has had no help and can still just lock up a defense. But besides that, or lock up an offense. Besides that, this defense stinks. There's no one else there. They lost Justin Simmons. Like it's so similar to the Chargers. They each have four or five guys that you can trust on a good defense. They can be great players. Besides that, none of these guys should be starting. Like it's bad. So bad. This secondary, I think it's so heavily insulated by Pat Surtain. You take him, if he gets injured, this is easily the worst secondary in the NFL. No question about it. You can't name half of these guys. Their starting safeties are PJ Locke and Brandon Jones. Like this team, they got nothing on defense besides Pat Surtain and the guys we mentioned.
Yeah, realistically, I don't I don't think Pat Surtain is the bona fide number one. I think it's a 1A, 1B, and I would lean away from Pat Surtain.
Really?
I think Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the league.
Where are you? Who do you have the best corner there, Wiles?
The sauce.
Really, man? I think it's Pat Surtain. I love his game. I think he's just a lot
I
cleaner
think
as
they're
a
both great.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. I think
they're
it's
both
clear
they
cut the two best corners in
yeah,
the
they are
league.
the 1-2 for sure.
I like Sauce's aggressiveness, and I just think uh, like he like they both don't get picked on at all, but like Sauce like just doesn't even get targets anymore, man. It's just like not
Yeah.
even. It's not even a thing. But I like any other outstanding thoughts on this defense. Like Baron Browning and Cody Barton are all right, to be honest. But like I don't mind their linebackers to be fair. But yeah,
It's
I
just
don't
like, ugh.
I don't think the linebackers are the weakness of this defense. I'll say that.
Well,
I
I
yeah,
don't
agree.
I don't think they I don't think they'd be a strength on very many defenses in the league,
yeah.
but I don't think they're gonna sink this defense any lower than it's gonna sink itself with the secondary that they have.
I think it's a showing of how bad this secondary is that it's the weakness of the defense with one of the best corners in the NFL on it. And it is
Yeah.
still the weakness of the defense. That's how bad this secondary is.
I want to see the Broncos try a new strategy this year and put Pat Surtain on one side of the field and every single other member of their secondary on the other side.
And put Pat Surtain on the side of the field where they're lining up more receivers. Put him on the
Yeah.
side with two and get the other ones on just guarding that one guy on the other side.
Let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders, who were 8-9, just like the Denver Broncos last year, but were slightly above. Uh, Head coach Antonio Pierce came in. I think started looking up. Things were, I mean, there was some buzz around Las Vegas. They took a dub off the Kansas City Chiefs, and now they've gone out and I like what they did in the draft to some degree, and they paid Christian Wilkins a lot, but they got Christian Wilkins, so. Frosty, what do you make of the Raiders? Because I feel like you could have I think there could be a wide range of opinions on them.
Now, looking at their roster now and looking at the record that I have them at, I disagree with myself.
Me too.
Because I
I'm in the same boat, actually.
I I really don't hate this offense. And I
I don't
didn't really
either.
realize that when I was making the record and I'm making the predictions. I really don't hate this offense that much. I love Zamir White. I think Zamir White's going to be borderline top 7 running back this year. I think he's going to be unbelievable. Um, I think he's one of the biggest sleeper running backs in football this year. Um, I think Gardner Minshew is probably the best quarterback Devonta Adams has had since Aaron Rodgers.
Holy
I think
shit.
that's fair to say,
It's just right, but it's
which is
crazy.
crazy. Jimmy G was Jimmy G couldn't hit water if he fell of a boat last year. Aiden O'Connell was a work in progress, who is probably losing the starting job to Gardner Minshew. Brock Bowers looks like an unbelievable tight end prospect. I don't really know why they picked him because they still have Michael Mayer, but I guess they're running a lot of two tight end sets. That'll probably help out the O line a little bit and get Zamir White some more yards before he gets slammed by linebackers. But we'll I looking like Devonta Adams is gonna do what Devonta Adams does, and he's gonna draw enough attention from the defense that guys like Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers are gonna get targets, and they're gonna find open field. Jacoby Myers also had a sneaky good year last year that I didn't even really know about until I was looking up stuff for this episode. He was actually very, very good last year. He had 8 touchdowns, over 800 yards, 71 receptions.
Yeah, I have in
Like
fantasy.
he, yeah, like I had no idea Jacoby Myers did that, but that's a wide receiver too to me. Like
Yeah.
this offense I think can be a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah, like I do think my record's a little lower than maybe it should be looking at this roster. Like you mentioned, I love Brock Powers. He is so good. I don't know why the Raiders picked him, but they have like I thought Michael Mayer was like a really good, the best tight end prospect last year. So they in my opinion, they drafted the back-to-back the best tight end prospect. So I don't know. It's a shame because I think that Michael Mayer's just never going to get a chance. Like Brock Bowers is not going to get overtaken for any role ever. Like he's so good. I do like Samir White. I don't know if I'm that high on how well he can do, but I think he will be a bona fide bell cow, go for over 1,000 yards. Like he can be that kind of running back. Devontae Adams, yeah, Gardner Minshew is probably the best quarterback he had because I mean, I've seen some of the clips from the receiver show. He was not happy last year with Jimmy G. He was that was embarrassing to watch. Like, oh my God. And Jimmy G,
I've never seen a quarterback make his receivers say he felt like he was gonna die on the field.
I've never been
That
hit
is an
so many times.
absurd thing.
It is crazy. And like Devon, it's Jimmy Garoppolo now has an uphill battle to make the Rams roster out of camp. Apparently, that's the report. So yeah, Gardner Minshew. I like Gardner Minshew. We had a long discussion about Gardner Minshew a while back. I'm not going to get into it now. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's solid. The question for this offense, though, this O line is pretty terrible. Like, I like Colton Miller. He's a solid tackle. I like the Jackson Powers Johnson pick. Cody Whitehair was awful in Chicago. Dylan Parham, he's young, but he was not good last year. Thayer Munford Jr., I have never heard of that man in my life. And Andre James, like the O line's pretty rough. But yeah, you're gonna hope that Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer can pick up some of the slack blocking wise.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I like this offense a little more than I thought I did, but I still don't like it very much.
The way Alexander Madison was moving out of the backfield last year, he could probably play tackle.
Oh my God. I was gonna bring up like he's a solid backup, but I don't know if he is at this point, man. He was
No.
awful last year. Like
Oh man, he was
I was
not
all in on
good.
that guy in fantasy, man. Like Alexander Madison, 6th round pick, boom. That's
He
probably an RB1.
he looked
No.
so good behind Dalvin Cook.
And what when he got
He looked
pulled,
unbelievable behind Dalvin Cook, and then it just fell apart.
Well,
he was
maybe
terrible.
it's just more of maybe he's back in a an RB2 kind of role now. So, I mean, I would assume this is going to be a run heavy 12 personnel. That's two tight ends coming out. Um, yeah, like the Michael Mayer conversation, I think could be delved into a little bit. Only 40 targets last year. I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's just more like he wasn't creating separation or they just weren't really using, the tight end position like that. So a little concerning just to see just for Mayer and maybe how Brock Bowers does this year. We'll see. Like, I mean, and then for the receiver wise, outside of the Adams and Myers, I'm not like I don't like it at all. Outside of those two, like I mean, you probably got Trey Tucker in the slot, and he's I don't know, he's 5'9". I'm not necessarily the biggest fan on him. Only like 300 yards last year, so we'll see. The O line, yeah, is just a mixed bag. Andres Pete is somebody that could maybe start at tackle if they would want over like a Thayer Munford, or I think Colton Miller is hurt right now, so we'll see. But I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean the offense is it's all right. Like I mean, where would you guys rank this offense between the three of Denver, Las Vegas, and LA? Because kind of hard. They're all kind of in a similar ballpark, but
Yeah,
this Vegas team is, I mean, they got this like, I mean, I think we're all Gardner Minshew is better than Jarrett Stidham, right?
if I had to go, I think I'd go Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. The main reason I go Chargers, one is they have the quarterback, and the offenses are pretty close. Like Devontae Adams is definitely head and shoulders of anything the Chargers have, but I like their receiver depth a little more. And Justin Herbert just moves me. Like he's gonna make more out of that offense, I think.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. I would go Chargers, Raiders, Broncos because I think a quarterback can make a receiver easier than a receiver can make a quarterback, and I think an O line can make a running back more than a running back can make an O line. And the
Yep.
Chargers have the better of both of those equations. So I think the Chargers are one, and I think the Broncos are pretty easily last.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but like I don't think Vegas is far off of
No,
LA.
I don't either.
Yeah. So let's move over to the defense here. This D line should be disgusting. When you have Wilkins and Max Crosby there, I mean, these guys could both command double teams. So it's gonna like there's not much depth outside of them too, but we'll see what Tyree Wilson brings. I mean, you're hoping that he could provide more, and if he can get it going and help out, I mean, get the natural help from those two, just commanding so much attention, and then the other guys are going to be there as well. I don't know. The D line has some real potential. What do you guys think of this front seven in general? Because I mean, the linebackers are nothing to write home about either.
Yeah, like I think you hope Tyree Wilson can prove why he was the seventh overall pick. Like he was athletically a freak. He was so good at Texas Tech. I loved him. And then he had that foot injury and he missed some time and he was, buried on the depth chart because he missed some training camp. And this year, hopefully coming in fully healthy, hopefully he can stay on the field and play a role because the edge rusher spot on the other side of Max Crosby is wide open. I mean, this defense in front really lacked last year. It was Max Crosby and no one else. I think this year it can be Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Tyree Wilson. That is dangerous. That's a really good trio if all are playing at their level. You mentioned the linebackers. Yeah, they're not much. I like Robert Spillane. I think he was solid in Pittsburgh, but he's a second, third linebacker. He's not gonna be your starting middle linebacker on a good team.
I I don't know. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I have Max Crosby for deploy this year. I think with him not getting essentially triple teamed on every single play because he's the only person that can rush the quarterback, I think he could go absolutely insane this year, especially if Tyree Wilson can figure himself out on the opposite side of that line. This pass rush is going to be good. It could be like near the top of the league good. And maybe that helps out this iffy secondary, um, to put it lightly. I I think I think the pass rush could make this defense bordering on league average, possibly. But I think if Tyree Wilson doesn't take the step up and it's just the Max Crosby show again with Christian Wilkins, I don't think that's enough to kind of move the needle for this defense for how lackluster everything else is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any other crazy thoughts about this defense. Like, I like Trevon Moehrig, I believe is how you say it. Moehrig.
Merrick.
Is it Moehrig? I
I think it's
apologize.
Trayvon Merrick, I think.
I like him. Uh, I mean, I liked Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs at one point. Um, we'll see what they offer this upcoming season, but I mean, yeah, man. It's okay. Now let's rank the defenses out of these three between Las Vegas, LA, and Denver, and because I think there's a lot to be
Kind of all the
desired.
same. The same kind
Yeah.
of the same kind of thing. They've got some superstars and then some they got me on the field. Like,
Yeah, like I think, oh my God. I don't I don't want to rank these. They'll suck. We like there's a legitimate shot these three defenses could be three of the five worst next year. Like I'm gonna go the Raiders one because I think their D line, since all their good players are in one spot, they can just wreak havoc on that one spot. I think I'd go Vegas, Chargers, Broncos.
I do the same. I'm not as high on Derwin James as I think you guys are. Um, I I think to me, outside of Pat Surtain, because I still think the Broncos are pretty easily the worst defense. I think Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins might be the two best players. I think I might take them both over Joey Bosa just because of how injury prone Bosa's been.
I take them both over Jerry Bosa. I think I take Max Crosby over Derwin James. You could flip a coin for me on Derwin James or Christian Wilkins. I think they're both really close.
I think I lean Christian Wilkins, but I like I said, like I'm just a little bit lower on Derwin
Yeah.
James, I think, than you guys are.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on this the Las Vegas Raiders?
Oh, just
There we
cannon
go.
fodder for the Chiefs.
And that is where we'll go next, the Kansas City Chiefs. I just want to hear your guys' overall thoughts because uh they did lose some pieces. They also gained some pieces. So do you guys overall think the Chiefs got better or the Chiefs got worse?
I I think they got better. I think they've shown that defensively they can swap out pieces like it's nobody's business and it won't make a difference. And their receiver room got significantly better this year. That was the glaring hole all regular season. Obviously, in the playoffs, it ended up not mattering. But all year, all everyone was talking about was how all these receivers can't catch anything. They couldn't catch a beach ball if it was thrown to them on the beach. Like they can't do anything. And now you add Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, who are just speed demons. Like Hollywood Brown has his drop problems, but nowhere near the level of Kadarius Toney. Like Hollywood Brown has his drop problems, but him and Worthy set them both on goes, and they're both going to be wide open. Like no one's catching those guys. So yeah,
Uh, This I think so to me, I think the offense got better and I think the defense got worse.
yeah.
But the offense might be unstoppable this year. Like
Oh,
they already have an elite offensive line.
Yeah.
Creed Humphrey, probably the best center in the league now.
yeah.
Like their receiving room is disgusting. Even now they can offset the fact that Travis Kelce took a step down last year. He's probably going to take another step down this year. The rapport is still going to be there with Patrick Mahomes, so it doesn't really matter because Mahomes can put the ball in his back pocket whenever he wants.
I
But
mean,
now they've got guys that are going to go down the field and they're going to draw defenders way further back, and Travis Kelce's going to be open down the middle a lot more on shorter routes. Like it's going to be dangerous.
yeah, like I mean, I don't even care what Kelsey's regular season numbers are. So he had 93 catches for 984 yards during the regular season last year. In the postseason, he had over a third of that, both catches and receiving wise in 4 games. So he had nearly 400 yards and over 30 catches, and 3 touchdowns. How many touchdowns did he have in the regular season? Hold on. He had 5 in the regular season and 3 in the postseason. So whatever. I don't even care. I don't even care where the Chiefs finish. Like I probably have them when we get to the records prediction here in a second. It's too many wins. Because they were 11-6 last year, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know,
This is the
is this?"
year they finally fall.
And they
So
didn't. So
my my thought is like the only way this offense can be stopped is Travis Kelce can't just take a step down. He has to take 4 steps down. He has to become washed up
and
because the the play calling that Andy Reid is gonna have at his disposal. You've got two speed demons on the outside. We haven't even mentioned Rashee Rice, who is the receiver one. You work him and Travis Kelce through the middle, while the other two are locking up the safeties on deep routes because they can't ignore it. And they have a run game. They have Isaiah Pacheco. He's a really good running back too. This offense is stupid. In my books, again, I'm in the same boat as you, Wiles. I probably have too many wins for them this season. And I know they're going to go out and they're going to lose 5 or 6 games during the regular season. And every media outlet and their mother is going to be tweeting out, is this the year the Chiefs get dethroned? Can we trust the Chiefs? Yes. I am not. Until they are eliminated from the playoffs, I will not doubt that the Chiefs are going back to back. Or back to back to back. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 times in a row. I can't doubt them until they're out of the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, even if Kelsey for some reason takes 4 steps down, they brought in Irv Smith Jr. I don't mind Noah Gray,
Oh my
who
God.
like literally looks like Trav. Like when it's almost kind of off catch, like it catches you off guard when it's Noah Gray making a catch on the field and it's not Travis Kelsey because
Yeah.
they kind of have like similar gaits and they kind of look similar in the pads and their numbers are
They,
close. But
yeah, they also wear this like 83 for Noah Gray. It does catch you off guard.
yeah, but yeah, and yeah, you touched on the O-line. O-line's great. They have like 8 receivers.
Yeah.
So yeah, Deneric Prince, an undrafted running back, is apparently the RB2 now, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the third. So they even got depth there. They're running Carson Wentz just in case Pat goes down. The offense is yeah, I would say it's improved. Any other thoughts on this offense?
I I
Sounds
want
about
to see
right.
it. I want to see a defense try to stop it. Like I genuinely don't know how you game plan for it. It's impossible.
They also
Well,
realistically they have 4 tight ends that they can roll out on the field. Because
yeah.
after Kelsey and Noah Gray, they also have Irv Smith and they have Jared Wiley they drafted in the 4th round.
And
Like,
you go
why? Why do you
well,
need that?
you mentioned it well with the receivers is we're talking about the top three. You go down that receiver depth chart, Justin Watson is solid. Kadarius Tony McCole Hardman, 2 more track stars to add to your 4x100 relay.
Justin
Sky
Ross.
Moore, Justin Ross was amazing at
Like,
Clemson, UDFA. He could realistically,
Uh,
I wouldn't be shocked to see a world where he has like a if he can reach
If
his potential.
if I see more Justin Ross training camp highlights and then nothing comes of it again, I'm going
But
to be upset.
as your receiver 8, like come on,
No, they
come
have all
on.
these. Everyone has speed. Everyone's like a gadget guy. They can do a lot with everybody. So, it's gonna be fun to watch. It's gonna be fun to watch. Let's go to the
No, it's
defense
not.
now,
It is not.
where
it's not going to be fun to watch at
I'm gonna
all.
hate
I'm
every
tired of
second of
watching
it.
it.
all right. Well, if you're
I
tired of
hate
the
this
Chiefs,
show.
then you can maybe relish in the fact that I think you could say the defense got worse. I would say that it was such a strong unit last year, and with Steve Spagnuolo still there, I think it's still going to be a top unit. But the secondary is definitely questionable to me. I don't have any thoughts on the front seven other than that it's elite. I mean, Chris Jones is uh the second best player on this team. Like what would you say, top 10 player in the league, probably.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
probably go a
Yeah.
little more. Like Karlaftis really took a step up. I love their linebackers and Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, Leo Chanel. The front seven is dominant to me. Back end wise, there's some questions, but what do we make of this defense, Glover?
I think last year they had to carry a lot of load in the regular season because of the offensive woes, not being able to get on the same page with the receivers. The defense definitely got worse. There's no denying that. But with the offense getting this much better, I don't think it's gonna matter. Like genuinely, like I think Trent McDuffie is gonna easily slot in. He doesn't play much on the outside, but he can easily be an elite cornerback in this league. He is so good, and he'll fill that void from L'Jarius Sneed. But behind him, there are question marks. The safeties are okay, but yeah, the front seven. I mean, it's not going to matter if the secondary is questionable because it's not bad. It's questionable, I'd say, but it won't matter because Nick Bolton is one of the best coverage linebackers in the league, and the pass rush they're going to get with Chris Jones and George Karlaftis and Anadike Uzoma is not a bad was a solid pick from 2023. Like They do a really good job
Like
of
Mike Pennell, Mike Dana, like both those guys
Derek
played real
Notty's
minutes.
solid.
Yeah, Derek
Like
Notty, they all played real minutes for them and were
it,
fine.
it's really like it's not gonna doesn't matter. They'll find a way. And Steve Spagnuolo, again, you mentioned him. He is such a good defensive coordinator. I mean, he must not be looking for head coaching jobs because he's never in talks as a head coaching candidate. But he's an amazing defensive coordinator, maybe the best in the NFL. Like he probably is the best in the NFL after all the hirings that got done this offseason. He's the best DC in the NFL, and he'll make do with what he has. And I mean, really, this defense just hold him to less than 35 points and they'll win every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's anybody that can manage to make a scheme that's going to try and hide their safety weakness or their cornerback depth weakness that they might have, it's Steve Spagnuolo. Like they're gonna find a way to do it. They do every single year. It doesn't matter what happens to this team. It doesn't matter who they lose in the offseason. They're gonna find a way to win at least 11 games. They could win 6 games and win this division. So it really does. They have the time to do it. They will find a way. They will find out how to make this defense work the same way it did last year, and the offense is going to be even better than it was last year.
That is another problem, actually. I didn't even think about that, but I was saying how like I'm not going to discount this team if they're out of the playoff race. They could go 8-9 and win this division, I think. Like
Easily,
like this
easily.
so like they're not going to miss the playoffs even if they have an atrocious year. They also have 6 free in-division wins. I mean, they're going to murder the Raiders this year. They are going to, that game, I am taking whatever the spread is. They are going to beat them by 40 because what are you doing with that Kermit the Frog BS in training? Are you they won the Super Bowl in your stadium, man. In your stadium, they won the Super Bowl, and you're doing that. Mahomes is going to have 500 yards and 15 touchdowns in that game, and they're going to win 700 to nothing. It's going to be a massacre.
Real quick before we move on to the standings predictions, out of the 21 games they played last year, the Kansas City Chiefs, 17 in the regular season and 4 in the postseason. How many times do you guys think they allowed more than 24 points?
Not a lot because they didn't score more than 24 points a lot, especially in the playoffs.
Just take a guess.
Uh, I'll go 3.
5.
Once, week 13 to Green Bay, they lost 27-19. They held everybody else to under 24 points. That's just how dominant that defense was. So just something to think about there. All right, let's move on to the standings predictions, where we've been doing these at the end of everyone. We simulated a whole season, did our picks, so it's not like we're just making up these numbers on the spot. Let's start here. Anybody want to go first? Anybody excited to do the AFC West standings predictions? Frosty, you look giddy,
Yeah,
so let's go to you.
ready to go.
All right.
All right. Last place, I have the Denver Broncos at 2-15. I think this team is absolutely abysmal. I think this is the second worst team in football. I have them. I have them beating the Raiders and I have them beating the Panthers. I think realistically, I don't know how many teams they can beat with the atrocity that could come out of that quarterback room. The only to me the only saving grace is if Bo Nix comes in and looks like a top 10 pick. That's about the only way that I think they can produce. And the defense is, like we mentioned it, like there's not very many things to like about this team, and it has somehow all compiled into a record of 2 wins and 15 losses. Barely ahead of them is the Las Vegas Raiders at 3-14. Now, looking at this now, this is what I disagree with myself on. I think this team could get 5 wins. I think that's pretty reasonable, but I picked them to get 3, so I'm going to stick with 3. I also made this before they came out with a Kermit the Frog doll. So I have them beating the Chiefs in one of the games. Clearly, that's not going to happen anymore. They might give up 100 points in those 2 games to the Chiefs.
Oh my God, it's gonna
Like
be hilarious.
the Chiefs are if they actually like care about what the Raiders did, because either the Chiefs aren't bothered by it at all, and they just don't care. Like a mosquito doesn't bother an elephant. Who cares? But if that actually offended the Chiefs and they're going to come out and play playoff football against the Las Vegas Raiders, good Lord, that is going to be an absolute mess on the field.
The,
That's
the elephant doesn't care about the mosquito. The elephant still can smack its trunk around and smush that mosquito to bits, like
exactly
without even
like
trying, breaking a sweat.
like I have the Broncos. I have them beating, or sorry, I have the Raiders. The Raiders. I have them beating the Broncos and Chiefs in back-to-back weeks, and then beating the Saints in week 17. I have them beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead too, actually. So I
Happened last
there's
year, right? They
yeah,
won in
there's
Arrowhead
al there's
last year.
always games like that. There's
Last year
always
they
games.
didn't do the dumbest thing imaginable 2 months before the season started. I don't know what goes the he's a rookie. I don't even know. It's so
I don't know
dumb.
how I I don't know how you do that. Anyways, tired of talking about the Raiders. Second place in the division, the Chargers. I'm at 5-12. I I might be lower on everybody in this division other than the Chiefs, I think. Um, but I don't like really much about any of these teams. I have the Chargers beating I I do have the Chargers going 4-2 in the division. So that's 4 of their 5 wins are in the division. The only Let me see if I can find it. The only outside of the division game I have them winning is week 7 against the Cardinals. I I I have them losing to the Patriots in New England. Like this, Justin Herbert needs help, and somebody on this offense is going to have to step up big in order for the offense to be able to produce really anything. I think the O line can help out the run game a lot, but I still just don't know if that's going to be enough. And then obviously first, getting the 1 seed, the Chiefs 14-3. They're probably not going to win that many games. Realistically, I don't think they will, but I don't know how to pick against the Chiefs in good conscience at this point. The only games I have them losing are in San Francisco, in Buffalo, and then to the Raiders in Arrowhead. I like this. this I would have them resting their starters week 18, and I still have them beating the Broncos. Like this team is they are the cream of the crop. They are what every single team is trying to be in the NFL right now, and nobody has been able to do it. And until somebody can do it, I refuse to give them anything under the 1 seed, even if they come in as the 2, 3, or 4 seed, which they very well could because they don't perform in the regular season or they don't care in the regular season. I don't think it matters. I can't pick against this team. I've done it. I'm tired of doing it, and I'm tired of being wrong. I'd rather be high on them and be wrong than be low on them and be wrong.
Yep. I don't think you can said any better there. That's the Chiefs, man.
All right, all right, all right, Glover. Let's hear what you got.
So I thought I was gonna be lower on these teams, but I'm glad to see we're in the same boat. So I have the Broncos in last at 2-15 as the worst team in the
Yes,
NFL.
sir.
They suck. They're so bad. Like I don't again, I still can't believe that the weakness of their defense is the position Patrick Surtain plays. He is so elite, and it can't make up for how bad that secondary is. The defense sucks. The O line's questionable. The receiver room is weak. I like Javonte Williams. I hope he can have a good year. I think he's got talent. It's not going to matter with that O line and that quarterback room. It's just so bad. I've got them grabbing back to back wins week 11 and week 12 against the Falcons and Raiders, but that's it. Like, they stink. I think they're going to hope to get the first overall pick, and I don't know, maybe eventually then 10 years when Patrick Mahomes is 34 and retired, they can, or not 34, he's not gonna retire at 34, he's gonna retire at 45. When he's at 45 and retired, they can win that division finally. So then In the next position, I got the Raiders. I got them at 4-13. I think I'm in the same boat with you. Like I could see them winning 5, maybe 6, but really probably not. I've got them 2-4 in the division, wins against the Browns, Broncos, uh, Falcons, and Chargers. Uh, like they're gonna steal some wins here and there, maybe with some of their defensive stuff, but really nothing here excites me. I think it's just a mid everywhere or terrible. There's just not a lot to go on when your defense is so one dimensional. Your offense is also equally one dimensional by just one dimensional. I mean, one player. It's Devontae Adams. It's gonna be so just meh. I don't trust him to do anything. The LA Chargers got them at 6-11, 3-3 in the division. This is also betting on a healthy Herbert season, but I got to mean the Raiders, the Broncos, the Titans, Bucks, Broncos again, and the Patriots. Just like you just gotta this team. I think you gotta hope that a guy like Lad McConkey can step up and take that receiver one role. You gotta hope J.K. Dobbins has a healthy year. You gotta hope. There's a lot of hoping going on for this team to just be at an 8 and 9 level. I think that defense is pretty terrible. You really gotta bank on your offense being amazing, and your offense has way too many question marks to outperform a crappy defense. So 6-11. And then just like you, first seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, 14-3, 6-0 in the division. Again, it's the same thing. This team could open the year 0-8. I would still think they're going to win the Super Bowl because I can't not, I can't not have faith in this team. Like they're so dominant. They can have the worst regular season imaginable, and they'll go on a run in the playoffs and they'll win the Super Bowl. There's no point in even bothering to doubt it. Why would I bother waste my time going, you know what? I think the Chiefs have a down year. I don't. Again, they will definitely have a worse record than 14-3. I don't doubt that at all. But when I'm looking through and I'm going through this record predictor and I'm picking games, I'm going, yeah, I can see them losing this random game in November to the Broncos. No, I can't. I, in good conscience, can't pick them to lose any football games. Besides, I got them losing to the Ravens week 1 because the Ravens care about the regular season. The Chiefs don't. The Ravens are going to be playing with more of a chip on their shoulder. I got them taking that one. Losing to the Niners on the road and the Browns on the road. I think that defense, the Browns defense, I don't know, they could steal one. Like it's regular season Chiefs. They could lose that game to the Bills they play. They could lose to the Texans too. They could lose other games to the Bengals week 2. I just can't in good conscience pick them to lose more than 3 football games. So there's the AFC West. They suck, and the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, and it's going to make me pain again.
You guys are pretty similar to some degree. So I am definitely more off the board than you guys. I had the Broncos at 4-13, so you guys had them both at 2-15. I had them at 4-13. I mean, it isn't saying much. I just think like I mean, they were still 8-9 last year. They definitely got worse. We'll see like what happens at the quarterback spot. I think there's just a little like I don't know. It's hard for me to predict any team to go like to get 1, 2, 3 wins. Like I feel like I feel like it's a little too close. But so I have them at 4-13. I have the Chargers in third at 6-11. So I'm aligned with you guys there. Yeah, they were 5-12 last year. Honestly, like I could maybe even see the Chargers getting like 7 wins. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but if Herbert's healthy, it it's hard to not, and he has been up until last year when he only played 13 games. So it's hard to see them not getting like 6 or 7 wins in my book. I have the Raiders at 7-10. Um, I, I don't think you could sit here and say they got substantially worse, like 3 to 4 wins worse. I think you could argue they got better, and they have a better quarterback now. So, uh, we'll see. Like I think they're gonna sit in the seven. Like I think 7-10 is about like their like ceiling. Maybe 8-9 they matched what they did last year if they somehow like take another win off of Chiefs or one of the better teams they face in their schedule. But I'm not sure I can see them going like a 4-13, 3-14. I would say they're more on like the 7-10, 5-12 kind of range. That's just where I'm at. And then KC 13-4. Yeah, like same with you guys, like 14-3, 13-4. They could go 11-6 like they did last year, and it won't matter. They'll probably won't have this. They probably won't even have 13 wins if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah, that about does it. Pretty, you guys are more similar on the standings predictions. I think the only really big difference I had was the Raiders. Just I had them getting 3 or 4 more wins than you guys, but I mean, any final thoughts here? I mean, I think that puts a nice bow. We should be sub hour. I think we set out to be sub
I
hour.
think we did.
I
I think
think
I
we
we're
think
gonna
we're
did.
sub
sub
hour.
hour, and I mean, is it really surprising? This division, like, it's just terrible. It just so happens that 3 of probably the bottom 10 teams in the league are in the Chiefs division. Like, just you got to give them 6 free wins because they need it. They need the help. So very fun.
We'll see if it's
I've never
six.
been I've never had less fun talking about football than discussing the Chiefs next season.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate it.
Our
All,
energy was definitely down for this whole thing. We were
Like
it's
it's just
we knew going
all
in it wasn't going to be a fun one. I'm sorry to all the fans out there that are a fan of one of
yeah.
these teams, but it's hard for outsiders, I guess, to want to talk about this division. So
Well, I mean, man, you sit there and I'm talking about the Chiefs, and all that's playing in my head is a loop of the AFC Championship game, and it makes me want to bash my head into a wall over and over and over again until I get that Zay Flowers fumble out of my head. I hate this team, and if the Ravens beat them, I might do some crazy ass shit if the Ravens manage to beat them in a playoff game. I might go ballistic.
all right, well that seems like a good place to end it. Don't forget, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the video, and as always, keep it buzzing.